Nickelback has resurfaced with a brand new track, Feed the Machine. Stick around, I'm going to teach you how to play it. Regardless of what your political views are when it comes to Nickelback, there's no denying that they are one of the most successful rock bands of the early part of this century. Now, when it comes to writing hits, these guys have got it nailed, and the new track, Feed the Machine, only time will tell. However, this is an absolutely killer riff, so let's jump into how to play this track. Now, the first thing to talk about is the tuning. Now, without seeing Nickelback play this live or seeing an official music video, there's no telling how they're actually playing it. I'm just taking a wild stab. However, what I do believe they've done is they've tuned their guitars down a complete tone, and then on top of that, they've dropped their lower string down a tone again. So our tuning for this track to play along with the actual recording is actually C, then we have a G, then we have a C again. The G string we're going to tune down to an F. Our following string is going to be down to an A, and finally our high E string will be tuned down to a D. So one more time, we have C, G, C, and then we have the F, we have the A, and then we have the D. Right, now the intro, this is actually played with two different effects. The first has got a sustainer where we're actually playing the individual notes, and the second has got a really hard cut tremolo on the chords. So, you know, you can get this, basically, in effect, what you're doing is if you've got a Les Paul or something where you can actually flick your toggle switch to get different sounds, that's basically what we're doing. But in the meantime, you can actually try palm muting it, or you can just hit the open chords. So let's start with the chords. Alright, it starts off with a D, and you hit that 4 bars. Then we've got a C to the G, and then the D again. Now, there is something unique that happens at the end, but we'll get to that in a sec. All right, now the second part, you've got this little. I'm going to use the word whiny, but it's not exactly it. It's a real haunting type of melody. Now, if you're using a sustainer or like an E-bow or something, then that's going to work perfectly for you. You want to make sure that you're getting some of those raking coming into it and get some of that ghosting and slide into the notes rather than just hit them straight out. However, if you don't have any of those types of effects, you can use it just using octaves. So this would sound like this. We're starting on the main note is going to be that high note, so we'll start with that. So it's going to be on the 6th fret, down to the 5th, up to the 8th, and then back to the 6th. Timing wise, we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's just a loop. So we're just hitting semi-breves or whole notes, and we're just playing a loop from the 6th to the 5th to the 8th back to the 6th. So if we're going to do that as an octave, we'd be hitting that on the 3rd fret, down to the 2nd, up to the 5th, and back to the 3rd. Versus there's two distinct guitar parts that are going on after coming out of that killer riff. Now the first one is actually just a little bit of an ostinato that's playing against the entire vocal melody, the bass line, and then also the second guitar that comes in. The best way to think about this is in a D minor pentatonic position or a C mixolydian. Now remember that I'm only using those letter names as position, not the actual keys. So that D pentatonic is going to be on the 10th fret. The D mixolydian will be starting on the C, which is on the 8th fret. The lick itself. Now it's very syncopated. It's very staccato. Now basically what we're doing is we're starting off on that 10th fret on the D on the 12th fret I should say on the D string, and we're coming down to the 10th fret with our first finger. All right, and our timing. 1E and 2E and 3. So you're playing like every second 16th note. 1E and 2E and 3 and 4E and 1E and 2E and 3 and 4 and. Second time through, we actually we anticipate the resolution back to the D. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and up tempo. In the second part of the verse, we go to a single chord hit, which is just hitting that open D position. Now, don't forget, I'm using that as a position reference rather than an actual pitch reference. In terms of timing, we're hitting it on the 4 and then we hit it again on the 2. So our timing is a 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2. And that goes over the top of that ostinato, that other ostinato that we were playing. All right, let's do that up a tempo. So it sounds like this with the ostinato. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2. In the pre-chorus, we still have this 2 distinct guitar parts. Now, the first part that's come from that ostinato comes into actually just hitting 2 individual notes, and those notes are the G, which is we're going to be playing on, or pitch-wise, it's the G. We're going to be hitting on the 10th fret on the B string, and then we're also playing down on the 7th fret on the G string. And our timing is a 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and 1 and 2. Now what I'm doing is starting by hitting those together and then coming to play the note on the G string and then resolving back to that note on the B string. Once again, at tempo, 2, 3 and 4, and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and 1, 2. The second part with just the chords is going from a B flat to a G. Now remember, we are in drop D tuning here, so we are going to be hitting that on the 5th fret just as a single chord. And we're going from the B flat to the G, back to the B flat to the G before we hit that chorus. Timing wise, it's very similar to that other part, so it's going to sound like this: 2, 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and 1, 2, 3 and 4, and 1, 2, 3 and 4, and 1, 2, 4, and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and 1, 2 and 3 and 4. When we get to the chorus, you can distinctly hear that it's those guitars hitting those main chords, the D, the B flat, and the G. However, you can also hear this other line that's in there. Now, it's at first you think it's a bass, but there's actually is a guitar just playing single notes. So this part here is going to be a combination of those 2 parts. We're going to play the chords together, emphasizing the running bass line. Now, the chorus is a repetitive progression. It actually plays the same thing 4 times through. I'll play it just once so you can hear what's going on, and then we'll break it down. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, 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 and 1, 2. Right, now I said once, but that was actually twice. Anyway, let's break it down and have a look. We start off with that D, so it's a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now, what we're doing there is we're going from a D to the F, C, and then resolving to the B flat. Once again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we're keeping that anticipation happening throughout the chorus that we've had in that in the pre-chorus. So once again, it's the D to the F to the C to the B flat. Then we come back to the C to the F and resolving to the G. Timing wise, once again, is like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 it basically just repeats that. Now remember, when we hit that last chord on the 4 ands, before we go into the loop, that is also the first chord of the next sequence, and we go through that 4 times. I'll play it through a tempo for you. 2, 3, 4. Now, the part you've all been waiting for, the main riff. Now, this is a killer riff. I loved it. It grabbed me immediately. Now, especially dropping down to that low C on the E string, we're really getting some meat and balls out of this riff. It's great. I'll play the tempo for you, and then we'll break it down from there. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, now let's start having a look at it. Now it works as a four bar loop that's split into two phrases, and those two phrases are almost identical. Now those two phrases also split into half again. So let's look at the very first half of the first phrase. Now, this is a really good example of using that pedal tone, and you are going to need to alternate pick. There's going to be a lot of down and up strokes in this, and it is very, very quick. This song's at 136, so you've really got to work on it to try and keep it clean and to keep up. All right, so we start off with the open D string. Now, remember, I am talking position here, not pitch. So we're using that open string there, the open 6 string, 1 and 2 and 3. Now 1 and a 2 and a 3. Now what I'm doing is I'm playing the 1, then the and hitting that same note again, 1 and 1 and on the 2, 2 E and we're playing the 5th fret on the 2. E is on the 3rd fret, and we're hitting that double open string again. On the 3, we stab on that 5th fret. So in terms of positioning, that would be the D on the 5th fret on the A string. Once again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3. Now you are going to find that if you palm mute this a little bit, it is going to be a lot cleaner. And don't go overboard with your distortion levels. Bring those down a little bit. It'll help make it clean. Now let's jump into the second part of the phrase. There's a little bit in between, but we're going to come back to that in one moment. All right, now this starts on the off beat, so 1 and So on the first beat, we have a rest on the 1, and it's on the and. On the 2, 2 E and it's the same as the first part. We've come from the 5th fret down to the 3rd, and then a double hit on the open string. 2 E and on the 3, we jump up to the 8th fret. 8th fret on the A string from the 8 down to the 5. 3 E and then we resolve that again with a double hit on the open string. On the 4th beat, we have the hammer on from the 3rd fret up to the 5th. 4 E and then we resolve the whole thing with that open string on the ands. So one more time, it's a 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. All right, now at tempo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 4. It's very quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. All right, now if we put those both together, right, we end up with a 1 E and 2 E and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Now, that is the basis of the two phrases. So we got that first part, then we have the second part, and then it repeats twice. So we end up with that 4-bar loop. Now, halfway through each of those phrases, there is a tiny little thing which happens, which defines the two individual phrases and links those two parts together. So on the first one, at the end of the first bar, so we have that 1 E and 2 E and 3. Now, it's a very simple thing that happens on the 4 and on the 4 E and actually. So on the last two 16th notes of that first bar, it's basically just catching a harmonic with just a down and an up stroke. I'm hitting just above the 4th fret here, but you can pretty much hit it wherever it feels comfortable on that string, wherever you can catch that harmonic. So we've got a 1 E and 2 E and 3 and 4 E and then you go straight into the next part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 and that would be the complete linked first phrase. So when we get to the second part of that 4-bar phrase, we have a slightly different approach when we hit the end of that bar to link the two half phrases together. So we start off the same, 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4. This time on the 4 and we hit that open string. And on the 1, we have a double harmonic with the 2/16ths at the beginning of the bar. 1 E, and then we go straight into the next part of the lick. And 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. So linking those two parts together would sound like this. 3, 4, 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. One more time. 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E At tempo, it sounds like this. 3, 4. Now, if we link those two half phrases together, we're going to end up with a full lick at tempo, which sounds like this. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, now we'll bring the original track in, we'll jam along, see how we go. Here we are.